everybody, this is Rich Hanlin. We're back on Mortgage Ballers, and today I have Patricia Wright with me. She's taken some time out of her schedule to work with me. Patricia, are you in California?
Yes, I'm in Southern California.
All right, so I am in Georgia, so we got about a 3-hour time difference. What I love pointing out to people is 3-hour time difference, but yet we're finding something that works for us to have a conversation. So many people ask us, how do you do business in multiple states? And it's exactly like we're doing it right now. Technology allows us to do a lot of things. Do not think you can only do business in your own backyard. Patricia, thanks so much for joining me today. I have some great questions for you because I want people to know who you are. I want people to know about you. Right off the bat, I notice you're wearing a shirt. Is that a UWM shirt?
Yes, it's a UWM.
I couldn't help but notice they're always passing out that bling. I know when I try and order one shirt, but I always get like 12. So I go ahead and load up. We have a little spot in the office that we just add all the extras on there. Matter of fact, they just sent us, not kidding, 400 Elite 100s. And I'm thinking, why did you send them all here? So we'll collect them all and we will bring them to the next event and pass them all out. So all the awards are coming here. Everything's coming here. Patricia, tell us a little bit. How long you been doing lending?
I got into the business right after 9/11. Actually, I started on September 4th, and then 9/11 happened, and it was kind of a crazy time back then. But so it's been 24 years now.
It goes fast.
Yeah.
I blinked my eye. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be my 35th year come September 1st. And it really went fast. I can tell by the gray hair though, and lack of hair going there. And if I was looking at it right, when did you start with us?
I started November 20, last year. So 2024.
But you were already, you came from another broker model. I know them well.
Yes,
Julie and John, those guys.
I was with them since October 22.
Okay.
So I had been in the broker side for 2 years.
Okay. So I saw the direct lender side over there. Who was the biggest direct lender you worked for? Was it Finance of America or?
Countrywide.
Okay. All right.
Bank of America and then Finance of America. So.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Quite a few.
Yeah, 7 years with Countrywide, 5.5 years with Bank of America. So, yeah.
Did you work out off of White Rock Road out there at one time?
No, I started in Fullerton. Yeah, Fullerton.
Oh, you're Southern California. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I was with B of A right after the crash because, there was no brokering, but yet they were still doing business. But when I was in there, all the loans I was doing or people I was helping were back in the South or, on the East Coast, I shouldn't say East Coast, the coast were getting killed, but that's when I started seeing Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and they weren't affected as much as California was. I couldn't find a loan in California at that time. So it was a little bit different. That was a tough time. I'm glad we haven't quite. Some people are comparing this current time to that, but I'm like, no, real estate took the hit first last time. Yeah. This time we've had other things take hits, and real estate's trying to be resourceful, but insurance isn't helping any, the cost of insurance. Matter of fact, you're in Southern California. How's that going down there? You're witnessing all that.
Oh, yeah. Insurance prices have doubled and tripled in some places. Some people just cannot even get insurance. The California Fair Plan is good for some areas. Some people use outside private insurance, but yeah, it's a problem. When we're qualifying somebody, we used to count maybe $60, $100 a month for insurance. Now it's like $300 a month for insurance. So it makes a difference on qualifying them. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember those days. It really wasn't that long ago when you could get insurance. I thought, wow, that's $1,200 a year. That was a big, but now I'm seeing some big ones. My brother lives in Riverside, California, and he now has a state plan and he has his regular one. So he's feeling it because he lives kind of in the foothills, and they've had, he gets a hard time in case a fire happens, things like that.
Yeah.
Now, where exactly do you live in Southern California?
I live in a city called Villa Park, California. So we're right in between Orange and Anaheim Hills. Yeah.
Okay. So where the first time home buyer has to pay $1 million to get into a house, is that?
Well, yeah, that's almost all of Orange County where I'm at. But, yeah, it's expensive. The first time home buyer loans I'm doing now, sometimes it's a 900 square foot house for $1 million, 1.1.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot right now. So
that's amazing. Were you born and raised there?
Yes.
Okay. So you've seen that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to hit you up some different questions. Do you do this by yourself? Are you part of a team? Do you have your own processing? Do you process your own?
No, I have a processor. I
Okay.
use one that Xpert has recommended, and she's been really great. At this time, I don't have an assistant, but I've had assistants throughout my career,
Okay.
and that's really nice to have too. But yeah, I'm pretty much an independent shop right now. Yeah, by myself. But I think because of my years of experience and also, my client base, it works out great. And I like having the options that Xpert offers. And basically, there isn't a loan program we can't find for you. So,
Well, there's a knock for you right there. If
yeah.
I had to say, good job. I was only on the direct lending side for a short time, and that's the first time I ever experienced overlays. I'm like, why can't we help this person? Oh, we don't do low scores. Well, but that's like a 680. I don't understand. We don't go below 720. Like, oh,
Yeah.
we do all day long on the broker side. Do you guys have FH? Oh, we don't do those loans because I'm like, I have 800 scores that do FHAs. They just don't have the down payment. It was just an interesting concept. But when I was with Bank of America, they closed about 30% of all that they took in. And that was acceptable. And I thought, gosh, if I did that on the broker side, I wouldn't be in business because we try and close about 90% in a market like this, because you guys decipher very quickly whether there's something there or not. You don't waste time. And if we can't do it, usually no one's going to be able to do it. I mean, because you have so many programs available. If you had to pick, you get out of bed in the morning, and if you had your favorite thing that you like about the lending world and what you do, what is the borrower that you like to work with, or the type of loans, or is it just anybody that calls?
You know what? I really like working with FHA borrowers. I know
Okay.
sometimes their credit scores are a little bit lower or they might be more challenged, but I think it's just more satisfying getting them in when they don't even expect to be able to buy, because maybe they're telling me they have some credit problems, or they don't have enough money. They don't think they're going to be able to scrape the down together, because you can let them know. I mean, there's sometimes family can lend them some money. Sometimes they can borrow from their 401k. It's not as much money as they think that they're going to need. And, a lot of times you can get the seller to contribute some closing costs. So I think it's just more satisfying when you get that borrower in that doesn't expect to be able to get in.
Well,
Yeah.
in your neighborhood, I mean, obviously it's a little more expensive. Are you finding in this market, are the sellers, at this point in the market, are the sellers willing to help out those buyers a little bit? Or is that not kind of happening?
Sometimes it helps when they write that letter to explain who they are and why they want to live there. I think that sellers do take their properties personally. A lot of them, I mean, in this market, a lot of people have lived in their homes for a very long time, and they don't want to let it go because they've got that low rate, 2.75, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it does make a difference if they think, I really like that family. I want that family to get into my home, and even though they're putting only 3.5% down versus this 20% down investor guy, I rather have somebody that's going to live here and not tear it up. And, I think it makes a difference. I have a lot of clients that do write those letters, provide a picture of their family with their dog, and it does help. And you know what I like to do is I always tell them, even though I gave you the approval, give me the listing agent's contact info, and I'm going to just call and double verify your approval. Let them know I've looked at your credit. I have all your income docs. This is not just, a paper approval. This is a fully underwritten approval, and we're going to be able to close in 2 weeks sometimes. So if the property's vacant and they want to move fast, and that makes a difference, because on the broker side, I can make those promises. On the retail side, I couldn't. I'd have to say 30 to 45 days. And then if it was a refi boom, sometimes we're running in 60 days, and that's that makes a difference. If somebody wants to move and get their money and get going, I mean, being able to make those promises. I just had a 12-day closing. So, I mean, it happens too. They are shocked when it happens because they don't believe me, but it happens.
We're in Georgia and they're like, do not send us funds until we ask for it. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Okay, we can close. And they're like, okay, we're not ready. And I'm like, all right, well, that's one thing I do like about the broker world, when you get your system down, because you need to control it, especially if it's purchases, because no matter how strong the realtors are, if something goes wrong, they're going to point it towards us. Even if they had negotiations because of something to do with the house, but they still want to close on time, even if they took 4 days to figure something out. And because I know that, I just keep pounding away, getting ready. so that it doesn't fall on me. And I definitely jump in the middle of stuff as fast as I can if I see a red flag coming. Hey, we're going to want to talk about this because that's going to be an issue. I mean, I think nowadays, especially in California, I think it's automatic that with an offer, you have to show that you've researched insurance. I think they've added that in, or maybe it's just recently, but that was a big deal on some of mine, that we used to do it later because we just knew we could get insurance. But the cost of the insurance, especially if you have a tight debt ratio, that was a make or break for some people on some of these properties. You get up into, well, now, I mean, look at Malibu and those areas. San Bernardino has the mountains, and those fires are happening back there all the time. Sacramento area has the fires up in the foothills. Insurance is getting to be interesting. Where do you think insurance is going to go with all this? What do you think is going to happen? You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I think the state has to, pick up more of it, get more involved.
I think state's going to have to get involved.
Private companies trying to get into it. People think insurance is a moneymaker, but as you can see, it hasn't been, because they're paying out more than, maybe they're getting. I just think it might have to be, federal or state level. I mean, just to make sure that everybody can get good insurance,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one thing to fix something, but when you got to rebuild a house, and then the house is 30 years old and it's a $2 million house or a $20 million house, and you got to build it back to current, guidelines, that's very expensive. But they've been collecting that money the whole time, saying we can do it should it happen, but they never expect to have another, 4,000 homes at the same time. And that's where the economies of scale start to come in. And that's a lot of money. I'm hoping something fixes itself here real quick, because that's going to be a big one for us. A lot of times I ask people how the transition was, but you've actually been in the broker world for a little bit. Here's something I'd like to know. When you, Patricia, are not doing loans, when you're not putting your real estate cap on, solving problems, what do you like to do? What kind of hobbies do you have? What is your out time from this industry?
Well, I mean, I enjoy hiking, being outdoors. I enjoy reading, spending time with my family. I have twins, 8.5-year-old twins. So
wow, okay.
They're a handful. We're always going to sports things. Yeah, boy, girl twins too. So we're going to different sports activities. But yeah, I think that'd probably be it. Hiking and reading. I enjoy reading everything from educational to fun,
Okay.
Yeah, like going to the movies and theater. So it's hard to have free time though.
Well, yeah, it's
I love cooking. Yeah.
You said you have twins, so obviously, I mean, the fact that I'm assuming you work from home, or do you have a commercial office?
No, I work from home. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I do have some people with commercial offices, but probably 90% of our people, 95% work from a home location. Very few of them now have commercial spots. They just feel more comfortable with that. I still have a couple of people, Dorita Ivy, she's more like Stockton area. She's all FHA, but she makes sure people come in because she wants to make sure that they're committed, because most of them are at the one speck away from not qualifying income wise. And she wants to be very clear. She puts her underwriter hat and she wants to see it, touch it, taste it, meet them before she puts her time. But she's one of our top loan officers here at Xpert, year in and year out. And she's almost all FHA, just a big heart to put people in houses. So that's a free shout out for Ivy. That's someone I need to introduce you to.
I have an executive suites that I meet people at if they do want to meet in person, or sometimes they want me to go to the Starbucks closest to them, which we've done that too. But a lot of times, meeting in person for them is just having a Zoom, we'll do a Zoom call and they're fine with being in their own house and doing a Zoom. Yeah. But it just depends, whatever the person is comfortable with. Yeah.
I'm seeing that, as well. I was trying to remember this morning, this guy, Dan Martell, he's a phenomenal speaker. He just wrote a book. It's called Buying Back Your Time. But a lot of people in the industry do things singularly, but one thing he talked about was, what he called it, leveraging your time. And I was like, okay, where's he going with this? But his leverage was this: take the time to do something that once you do it once, it's forever green, meaning even when you're sleeping tonight, someone could still see it, whether it's a flyer or it's a social media post, or it's a video. Do as many things that you can that leverage you and constantly are out there, because you were talking about that you like to do, we were talking about technology and things right before we started recording. But I think that's becoming so prevalent now with people have their phones in their hand and they're just searching, and for you to stick out somehow, some way. Someone said, we got 350 million people in the United States, and like, you don't have to hit all 350 million. You could do just fine with about 10,000 of them that fall in love with you, right? So
that's true.
Somebody's going to relate to you, and there's perfection in the imperfection. People want to see a working mom. They want to know that you have twins. I can relate to that. And that's what I'm trying to, with some of these interviews and some of our top people, they're not who you think they are. They're not suits and ties. They're moms themselves. And they just figured out their audience, and they worked their audience over and over and over. Stephanie Gilbert was our number one person. We're going to interview her on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that because she wasn't just number one. She was number one by about 58 loans over the next person. And she has a team, but her story is incredible because she's a mom, she has as many hours a day as you or anybody else. And that's what I love about Xpert is we have all these variations of people, but they're willing to talk and they're willing to share it because she's up in like Wyoming or something. And so she's nowhere near you. So it's not like you're overlapping against each other. She realized a long time ago, there's more than enough business. And I love that Catherine Barnett's coming on, I think that same day. But it's all the way down. One of my best loan originators, Michelle Malota out of Northern California, she was a processor, and she said, you know what, I have my license. Would it be okay if I do some loans? Over like a 5-year period before I opened Xpert, and I think she still is, but she became one of the top female originators in the United States. She sits on all these boards at UWM. They fly her out, but her call to action is she is part of a foundation that helps a very rare disease, and she travels all over the U.S. to talk about that disease. And it's like a skin disease, but you can get skin cancer very easily. Your body doesn't know how to fight it off. It's very rare, but she does a lot of loans within that group. Everybody has such incredible stories. And they all bring it to this industry, and finding people to relate to you somehow get you business. I mean, it turns into a conversation, it turns into trust, and it turns into eventually a loan. These rates are going to turn. Something's going to give. And I know that there's a lot going on. I think we're all waiting to see the results of what's going on. I'm crossing my fingers. I would love to see the people at Xpert Home Lending, as well as anywhere, but really people who've trusted our platform. I want to see you have the life that you never thought you could have. I know what it's been up to this point in time. And my last platform, the average loan officer, what they were making. And I just thought, that's what it's about. They're changing their lives. It's not about me changing mine as the broker or the owner. I've been blessed with each person who's come on board, but you have to get something out of it too. We both have to get something out of it. And so I'm looking forward to 2025 and trying to find consistencies and bring people to help you. Even Patricia Wright sitting in Southern California out of her house, smacking her eight-year-old twin back there going, quiet. How to get one or two more loans. Is there anything that we're not doing that's working right now that gets us in front of more people? Because here's the true fact. 2020 to now, like 430 loan officers down to 93,000 licensed loan officers. A lot of your competition has gone away. So that's just true. The fact that you're still here, the borrowers are out there, but they're just kind of in a limbo mode right now, trying to figure out what to do. So I'm looking forward to trying to fill that gap because I'm hoping that blesses your guys' lives to be in the right place at the right time when this bottleneck just gives, is what I hope. Well, here's a question for you. I want to ask, your area is a lot different than everybody's. You have some very high-end first-time home buyers as well, let alone they go way up above there, Orange County and surrounding areas. Beautiful area, by the way. In other words, you live by the ocean. Go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
If you had to give advice based on your customers, the people you run into, because it's different than being downtown Stockton talking to somebody who's sitting on the edge. I mean, how do you have that conversation with somebody who's basically going to be buying a 900 square foot, $1 million house? I mean, that's amazing to me when I hear those numbers.
Yeah, it's tough because they might be paying $2,000 a month for rent, and now they're going to pay
Oh my goodness.
$6,500. I mean, that's three times. I tell them you just have to get in because right now rates are higher, and right now you're going to have mortgage insurance, and that's making your payment even higher. Eventually, hopefully in a year or two, you will be able to refinance into a lower rate. You'll have that 20% equity position where you can remove your MI, and this payment will shrink. Versus if you keep renting, it's going to keep going up. And eventually you'll own this one and you will only have to pay taxes and insurance. You won't have a mortgage, where if you continue to rent, maybe, in 20 years from now, you're going to be renting for $7,000 versus almost having your house paid off. So, it's hard. It's really hard in the beginning. You're going to have to sacrifice a vacation or two. You're going to have to eat at home more often, but it's going to be worth it because it's going to be yours.
Yeah. We were talking the other day with some people. It's so hard to capture our buyers, but especially the first-time home buyers, if we could call 30, 60, 90 days and say, what was the hardest thing about becoming a homeowner? What was your biggest fear? And is that still your biggest fear? What has been the biggest plus? What has been the unknown that you're like, oh, I wish I would have known that? But it's hard to get them on camera. And I thought, if they would just have the conversations and then we talk on their behalf, say, I talked to Joanne, she was one of my buyers and this was her stuff. And I always wonder if it's the same. I remember when I was a first time home buyer and I remember our house, I remember sitting on my floor for the first time and having my first meal. My sons were born in that house, so I imagine that first home becomes a lot of things for a lot of people. But I'm amazed. I am amazed, Patricia, at the cost to be a first-time home buyer in certain areas in certain states. $1 million in Orange County. It's beautiful. This the ocean, and it'll probably be an incredible investment, but they have to have the income to go with it. That's a big jump, 2,000. But I'm assuming if they're living in that area, there's also some big salaries that usually come with those kind of areas. San Diego is another area I run into that all the time when they tell me what they're paying, but they'll. If they just have a view of the ocean, if I can just see the ocean, I don't need to live at the ocean. That's a little bit cheaper. But tell me this: if I remember back in the day, my friends who lived in Orange County didn't have air conditioners because the average temperature was always about X amount. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have air conditioners? Like, well, it's always like about 75 degrees. And so some of the houses didn't have ACs. I'm assuming they all have them now, but I found that weird.
Now. And we also had some weather swings, but yeah, we have air conditioning. I mean, I know a lot of people live down at Huntington Beach. Maybe the beach cities don't.
Okay.
They always have a nice breeze, but yeah, I know. I mean, that's how the house I grew up in, we didn't have one for a while, and then we got one. So yeah, I mean, the weather has changed a little bit, but it is pretty nice most days. It gets a little hot. I mean, we're still in California. It's a desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People love that desert though.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice all year round. We have pretty decent weather. I mean, people in other states right now, they're freezing, and it's beautiful and sunny here, so you can't complain.
I always love getting these interviews. I love for people to know a little bit more about you, about your business, about where your heart is in the business. Also, what you do when you're not business minded, because believe me, these loans will test you, and you got to have a place to go when you're not being tested. But if you had one thing to tell, if somebody comes across your video and they're like, what's this all about? I want to be a homeowner, but I'm defeated. Whatever. What is your words for that one person if they came across here and said, you know what, I need to call Patricia?
Well, I mean, I would just say don't give up. Sometimes it does take one or two or three people buying together to be able to afford, and it is going to be worth it in the end. I've come across a lot of people I qualify where they just decide, I'm going to rent a room and I'm going to live with my friend, and that person's going to go on the loan too. In the end, I've seen people, after just 6 months, sometimes they're saving $500-600 a month where we can refinance them because rates have dropped, and they got that 20% equity position faster than we expected. I mean, the prices go up pretty fast here. And a lot of times you can buy a home that just needs a little bit of work and make that equity pretty fast by just putting paint and carpet in. I would just say, don't be discouraged. It is going to be hard in the beginning, but I'll show you the path, the way. I mean, I even do down payment assistance. People can get in with very little out of pocket. The state does try to help as much as they can. The state of California has great first-time home buyer programs.
Yeah, they do.
I would just say, go with somebody like me that's experienced, that knows the wide variety of products and programs, and get your foot in the door, because it could be 1 or 2 years. And then next thing you know, you're buying that $1.5 million home, or you're buying that $2 million home. You have to start somewhere. And by doing nothing, you're going to stay where you're at. You're going to stay renting forever, versus get in to what you can afford, whether it's a condo, a smaller home, whatever it is, and then upgrade every 2 years, every 3 years, you can upgrade. And that's how these people live in these multi-million dollar homes. They started somewhere.
They started somewhere.
Yeah, they started somewhere.
You run into the two people, and one person says, you know what, I'm just going to take a chance. I'm going to try. It's like, well, if it doesn't work, you can always go back. Believe me, there's someone who will always rent to you. But the person who's just too afraid to try, I don't know what to do to that, because every homeowner that you see eventually had to take the chance on the first property.
Yeah.
And what you'll find is you'll learn so much in that first one. Then you got me. I've had 7 houses. I now live in Georgia. I've crossed out of states, things like that. You just become more comfortable over time, but eventually you have to take a chance, and it is going to be tighter. But if you're going to change your life, your family's life, things like that, there's not much better than real estate. And the earlier you can figure that out and get involved and let time cures everything, no matter what the market is.
Exactly.
That $1 million home will be worth $2 million sometime in the future. The question is, will you be the owner of it, or will you be the one going, I was too afraid to take that chance?
Exactly. And I thought that $1 million home was going to, drop, and it never did. It only went up, So yeah, you just got to get in, and the younger, the better, but it's never too late. I don't care if you're 50 years old buying your first house, get into that house, because if anything, you're still going to have that equity in a couple years when you want to sell it. If you decide you don't want to make that payment anymore, the prices are going up. Where can you save a couple $100,000? How do people save money when the price of gas and food is as high as it is? This is your savings account. That's the way you got to look at it.
For most people, that will be end up being their eventual retirement, things like that, because it appreciates. The stock market gets to be a little bit tough. So, when you can live and also have it appreciate, things like that. I've been on both sides of the real estate market, but I know this: all the real estate I've ever bought, time would have cured any problem that we had, and we do have hits. But time cures it, and it goes up. The only time it becomes an issue is if you need to sell in the middle of that curing process or lower process. But if you can hold on to it, because you have to sleep somewhere at night.
Exactly.
So you're either paying someone rent to sleep on their stuff, or you might as well just stay and sleep in your own house. Plus, you get it's nice to have your own space. Renting, you're held accountable. Not that you shouldn't take care of your own house, but it's just different when it's yours,
Exactly.
Just like getting your first car, like you wash it. It's a 18-year-old car, but you wash it all the time because there's pride of that ownership. And there's a reason why those rates are cheaper than the investment property rates and things like that. They know where the pride of ownership is. All right, I've taken a lot of your time. I've dragged it out of you. I wanted everybody to get to hear from you. But Patricia Wright with Xpert Home Lending, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Thanks for trusting Xpert Home Lending with your loans, with your ability. I hope that it ends up being an incredibly prosperous 2025 for you. We're looking forward to diving in and partnering with you with some ideas that we have. And I just want to say thank you for all you do. Thanks for taking the time today to sit and talk with me.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for starting Xpert, because I'm very, very happy here. I love the platform that you started. It's a perfect fit for me. And I just want to thank you again. Thank you for interviewing me.
Well, I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to sign off like we always do. When we get off the Mortgage Baller calls, here it comes, the salute. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Thank you.
Take care.